to announce the single largest deregulatory action to be here. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
This is a big one if you're into environment. This is about as big as it gets, they tell me, and it's an honor to be here with a terrific person who's worked so hard on this and some other terrific people. Thank you very much. But I'm pleased to be joined today by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who you all know, and to announce the single largest deregulatory action in American history. That's a big statement in American history. And I think we can add the words by far. Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers. Prices went up incredibly for a worse product. This action will eliminate over $1.3 trillion of regulatory costs and help bring car prices tumbling down dramatically. You're going to get a better car. You're going to get a car that starts easier, a car that works better for a lot less money. In 2009, Barack Hussein Obama, his EPA designated fossil fuels such as oil, gas, and other things that actually make factories rock and roll and other things drive very nicely as a threat to health and human welfare, known as the endangerment finding. This determination had no basis, in fact, had none whatsoever, and it had no basis in law. On the contrary, over the generations, fossil fuels have saved millions of lives and lifted billions of people out of poverty and all over the world. And you see it with the blackouts all over where they don't use it, where they went to wind, intermittent wind, which is weak and ineffective and very, very costly, most costly energy there is. And people are dying because there was no air conditioning or there was no heating. Lots of other things, bad things happened. And yet this radical rule became the legal foundation for the Green New Scam, one of the greatest scams in history, probably as great, maybe even greater than Russia hoax, etc., which the Obama and Biden administration used to destroy countless jobs. And the jobs have been just decimated. Although they're all coming back because of tariffs, they're all coming back into our country at levels we've never seen before. But it raised prices and caused immense harm to the U.S. auto industry. We thought irreparable, but we've got them back, coming back now. I was in Detroit, as you know, with Ford, and they had one of the earliest plants from the early 1900s, and it was going to be closed down. And then when I won, they said, let's keep it open for a little while. Let's see what happens. And they just announced, as you know, they're going 24 hours around the clock with that same plant that was going to be closed because of what we've done. For example, under the endangerment finding, they forced the hated start-stop feature onto American consumers, which unnecessarily shuts off a car's engine when you stop at a red light. In other words, the engine goes off. That's great. The endangerment finding was also used to impose the massive and really very expensive electric vehicle mandate, expensive in the sense that nobody wanted it. Everybody was going to be forced to buy an electric car in a very short period of time, even though you can't power the car because we would have had to spend $5 trillion on power stations. That's all dead, gone, over. These crippling restrictions were a major factor in driving up car prices to unprecedented levels, and the car that you were getting was not nearly as good. In 4 years under the Biden administration, the price of a new and used car rose more than 22%, all to facilitate the Green New Scam without achieving any meaningful impact on the environment, but making the car worse. That is why, effective immediately, we are repealing the ridiculous endangerment finding and terminating all additional green emission standards imposed unnecessarily on vehicle models and engines between 2012 and 2027 and beyond. This action will save American consumers trillions of dollars and will lower the average cost of a new vehicle by close to $3,000. Think of that. During my campaign, I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new regulation. And we've exceeded that. We've instead done it 10 regulations. We were able to cut 129. So now we cut 129. So think of that. I promised to cut 10 old regulations for every new one, but we did more than 10. We did 129. It's something, nobody can even believe it. So we did a lot of regulation cutting in the first administration, a record, nobody even close to it now. We're actually exceeding it in this administration. The biggest one yet that we've done is happening right now. So perhaps no industry has benefited more from our historic deregulation campaign than the U.S. auto industry. We canceled the EPA's absurd, just totally absurd tailpipe emission standards, which was a disaster for automobile manufacturing, and revoked Biden's emissions waiver that would have allowed California to regulate automobiles for the entire nation. And they're crazy out in California. They have nothing but trouble out there, as you know. That's why people are leaving in record numbers. I also ended Joe Biden's extreme CAFE emission standards, saving the average American consumer much more than $1,000 when they buy a new car. But now we're talking about close to $3,000. These regulation cuts, combined with our tax cuts and tariffs, are the reason why the world's largest automakers have announced that they're going to be spending in excess of $100 billion in the United States in the next very short period of time, building new auto plants. We're bringing our auto plants, assembly plants, and factories roaring back to life, not even mentioning AI and all of the other things. We're building thousands of businesses in the United States. And if you remember, on my first day, they said if I could ever get the Dow up to 50,000 in my last year, in other words, in the fourth year, that it would be an unbelievable miracle. But don't worry about it, because it'll never happen, they said. And if I could get the S&P up to 7,000, they said in the fourth year, they said it will never happen. Let's not even talk about it. I have things, let's not even waste our time talking about it. Well, at the very end of my first year, the Dow hit 50,000. Now it's over 50,000. And 3 days before that, the S&P hit 7,000. So we didn't have to wait till the end of the fourth year. We just waited till the end of the first year. We've never had a country in a position like this, and a lot of it's due to tariffs, and a lot of it's due to the fact that we had a great election, and a lot of good things have been done. One of the good things I did was put Lee Zeldin in charge of our environment. So I'm going to ask Lee to say a few words. Thank you very much. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is a big deal. Under President Trump's leadership today, the Trump EPA has finalized the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States of America. Referred to by some as the holy grail of federal regulatory overreach, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding is now eliminated. This action will save American taxpayers over $1.3 trillion. What that means is lower prices, more choices, and an end of heavy-handed climate policies. With today's announcement, American families will save over $2,400 for a new vehicle. 16 years ago, an ideological crusade within the Obama administration set off the most costly regulatory power grab our country has ever experienced. The 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding led to trillions of dollars in regulations that strangled entire sectors of the United States economy, including the American auto industry. It claimed new powers over the vehicles we drive, even though the best reading of the Clean Air Act clearly states otherwise. The Obama and Biden administrations used it to steamroll into existence a left-wing wish list of costly climate policies, electric vehicle mandates, and other requirements that assaulted consumer choice and affordability. And who paid the biggest price? Hardworking families, small businesses, millions of Americans who just want a reliable, affordable car to get to work, take their kids to school, or go to church on Sunday. The endangerment finding and the regulations that were based on it didn't just regulate emissions, it regulated and targeted the American dream. And now the endangerment finding is hereby eliminated, as well as all greenhouse gas emission standards that followed. The red tape has been cut. Manufacturers will no longer be burdened by measuring, compiling, or reporting greenhouse gas emissions for vehicles and engines. And the forced transition to electric vehicles is eliminated. No longer will automakers be pressured to shift their fleets towards electric vehicles, vehicles that are still sitting unsold on dealer lots all across America. And as a cherry on top, we are ending the federal government's push to get manufacturers to install that Obama switch, the almost universally despised start-stop feature. There will be no more climate participation trophies awarded to manufacturers for making Americans' cars die at every red light and stop sign. It's over, done, finished. Under President Trump's leadership, vehicle manufacturers can once again build what Americans want, not what politicians and bureaucrats in Washington demand. President Trump campaigned on reviving the auto industry, and he continues to deliver win after win after win, ending electric vehicle mandates, getting rid of the Biden cafe standards with Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, and securing massive new U.S. manufacturing investments and all of the jobs that come with it. Affordable cars mean opportunity. That means jobs, healthcare, education, and mobility, especially for working families and rural Americans who rely on their vehicles every single day. And this isn't just about making the American economy boom. It's also about restoring the rule of law, a fundamental principle of our great republic. For years, unelected bureaucrats twisted the Clean Air Act into something it was never meant to be. The Obama administration twisted itself into some kind of mental pretzel to invoke authority it didn't have and to sidestep Congress. They claimed that 6 greenhouse gas emissions from vehicles, some of which aren't even emitted from vehicles and trucks, contribute some amount above zero to global climate change, what they said endangered public health. But their wild web of mental leaps isn't prescribed in federal statute. The Obama EPA's House of Cards upended the best reading of the Clean Air Act, as well as 50 years of EPA precedent on what constitutes regulable air pollution. In the 16 years that intervened, the Supreme Court has established clear precedent in Loper Bright Enterprises and West Virginia versus EPA. And in light of these Supreme Court decisions and other developments, upon his swearing in last year, President Trump immediately tasked on day one, submitting requirements, recommendations, research on the legality and continued applicability of the 2009 endangerment finding. And at Trump's speed, he wanted that research and recommendation turned around instantly. We looked at the Clean Air Act. We looked at what the highest court in the land had said, and we used a very simple metric. If Congress didn't authorize it, EPA shouldn't be doing it. Congress never voted for these climate mandates inside of Section 202 of the Clean Air Act. If Congress wants EPA to regulate the heck out of greenhouse gases emitted from motor vehicles, then Congress can clearly make that the law, which they haven't done for good reason. Today, we dismantle the tactics and legal gymnastics used by the Obama and Biden administrations to backdoor their ideological agendas on the American people. Following the plain language of the law, we have now realigned EPA's rulemaking to reflect the Clean Air Act exactly as it is written and as Congress intended, not as others might wish it to be. Where our predecessors focused on trying to make and please a few fear-mongering climate alarmists, The Trump EPA is making decisions to benefit all Americans based on common sense and reality. And the American people are tired of paying the price of political games. Last November, they voted for an administration that would listen to them. They told us that the price of a newer, safer vehicle was too high. They told us they didn't want cars that shut off at every red light. They told us dealers were sitting on lots filled with electric vehicles that nobody wanted or were buying. The Trump EPA listened. We heard you and we acted. And today's action does not change regulations on traditional air pollutants and air toxics. This EPA is committed to providing clean air for all Americans. Powering the great American comeback is based on the singular focus of providing clean air, land, and water for all Americans while harnessing the greatness of the American economy. That's a big difference from our predecessor. We believe that we can and must choose both. If you want an electric vehicle, buy one. If you want a diesel truck, then buy that. If you want a gas-powered vehicle or a hybrid, well, more power to you. That's what freedom and choice look like. We're restoring the rule of law, we're grounding policy in reality, we're giving power back to the American people. And we're bringing back the American dream stronger than ever before. EPA will never waver on its core mission of protecting human health and the environment, and this administration knows we can do that while ushering in the golden age of America. To recap, the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding and all greenhouse gas emission standards on light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles that followed is eliminated. American families now will save over $2,400 for a new vehicle. Today, the single largest act of deregulation in the history of the United States, over $1.3 trillion, the elimination of the endangerment finding is signed, sealed, and delivered.
Thank you, Lee. That was long, but good. It was good. Maybe I should say great. It was great, and we appreciate it. Would you have anything to say, Russ? Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Literally no other president would have done this to get at the foundations of the Green New Deal. So tremendously excited that we are where we are today. Great work by Lee. I'm a little worried that this next year will be, EPA alone will be dereg east by the number of things that are going to come out of EPA. So great work to the team. $1.3 trillion in savings, massive historical opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Please. Would you like to speak? You're worthy of it. Good man.
Thank you, Mr. President. Today is a historic day led by President Trump's leadership. No other president, as Russ said, would have undertaken this and at the speed we did. It was a great team effort. This is the model of the Trump administration, everyone working together, mission aligned.
And Lee is also working on cleaning up the horrible situation with regard to farm equipment. You could use John Deere as an example and other companies where tractors are unbelievably expensive and don't work as well because of all of the environmental nonsense that was put on them. Also excavators, any equipment like that, bulldozers, Caterpillar tractor would be a beneficiary, I guess, but the people are going to be a beneficiary because the equipment's going to be a lot less expensive, and it's going to also, most importantly, it's going to work much better. So we're working on that immediately as we speak. And we'll probably make it so that any of that equipment built in the United States will not have to go through this. If it's built outside, I think we'll probably leave the standard the same. If people are going to send us equipment, let them have that standard for whatever it's worth, which is not much. And I think that's a very big announcement too. And we're going to see if we can get that done very quickly so that all of that equipment that we have made, including lawnmowers, et cetera, you won't have to go to the finest schools in the world in order to figure out how to operate it. Okay? So any questions, please?
President Trump, Thank you for this. And after this much supported move to roll back the former EPA's endangerment finding, what additional steps do you plan on taking to scale back what many are calling climate industry scams? Specifically, and Secretary Zeldin knows about these wind turbines they're trying to bring to New York. Judge is allowing them to be rebuilt right near your hometown in Jamaica, Queens. They're
Too
being
bad.
called a national security threat for air traffic coming into the airport. What could you do to make sure these things
Well,
don't
we're trying
destroy
to
the
make sure it
environment?
doesn't happen, and we've basically stopped all windmills in this country. It's the most expensive energy you can get. They're all made in China, a little bit in Germany, but mostly in China. And we're putting them all over our fields and ruining the fields and killing the birds and all of this. And the environmentalists say they like them, but they really are a tremendous eyesore. They ruined. Europe has gone, as you know, it's gone to it. Europe isn't even recognizable anymore between immigration and because of, environmental things like the windmills, which are taking over. The people hate them. The energy is by far the most expensive. And we're fighting very hard to make sure that they don't get built. I hope we don't have one built during my administration. We inherited some contracts where they've gone down the line a little bit. We're trying to terminate them for a lot of different reasons. One of the reasons, as you had mentioned, it's endangerment for the military. It's also endangerment for airliners. So we're trying to take care of those situations now. They should have never been allowed in the first place. Yeah,
Mr.
please.
President, thank you so much for taking
Sure.
questions. What do you tell Americans who are concerned that the $1.3 trillion in savings does come at a cost to public health and the environment based on
Yeah.
science?
I tell them, don't worry about it because it has nothing to do with public health. This was all a scam, a giant scam. This was a ripoff of the country by Obama and Biden. And let's say Obama started it and got it rolling. And a terrible ripoff. They'll have more money to spend for healthcare. If you look at it, now they can go out and spend it on something that's meaningful. And nobody's doing more for healthcare than the Republican Party. And that starts with the fact that prescription drugs are going to be coming down at numbers that nobody's ever seen before. They're falling. We were paying the highest prices in the world by far, sometimes by 10 times more than other countries. Now we're going to be paying whatever the lowest price is anywhere in the world. We're going to be paying that. It's called favored nations, most favored nations. And I think it's the biggest thing to happen in this world, the world of medicine, prescription drugs, ever. There's never been anything like it. If like in my third year, first term, I actually got prices down 1/4 or 1/8%. And I was so proud of myself because they were like that for years and years. And since under Biden, they went up very, very substantially. And now they're coming down by, depending on, you could say 500, 600, 700%, depending on the way you want to, or you could say 80%. It doesn't matter. They're coming down by numbers that nobody ever thought possible. I got it all done and I got it all approved, and all of the countries all over the world are going to pay more. They've agreed to pay more because of tariffs. I said, if you don't do it, we're going to have to tariff you, and they've all agreed to do it. Otherwise, they would have never done it. That was why no president has ever been able to get it done. Please.
Yeah, Mr. President, you took more than 600 deregulatory actions in your first year here. Coming from the business world, you know how unnecessary red tape can hinder business expansion, investment expansion. Given the magnitude of this announcement here today and the deregulatory action you took in your first year, how much economic growth can we expect to see as your term of president?
It's a great question. I think that it'll be enormous. Who knows really what the number is, but I can tell you in terms of economic growth, we have $18 trillion being invested in this country right now, the most ever of any country by far, not even close. Think of it, no matter where, not just here. $18 trillion is coming in, and that money is being spent right now as we speak in new plants and equipments. And you may have heard Lee mention, I mentioned also, that over $100 billion is going to be spent in this very short period of time just by foreign auto companies on building auto plants in the United States. Some of the greatest thing that ever happened to the United Auto Workers. The head man was not been nice to me, but now I understand he's saying this is the greatest auto president in history. But the auto workers gave me their vote, and they knew what I was doing, and they know what needed to be done. The tariffs saved them, but this is now taken it to a level that I think, Lee, that nobody ever thought even possible. They thought this was, nobody would have the courage to do it. We have to have the courage to do it because we're making America great again. This is a big factor in making our country great. If you look at some of these cars, they didn't even work. They had computers all over the place trying to save a half an ounce of fuel. We have fuel for the next 500 to 1,000 years under our feet, and they're trying like hell to save a half an ounce of fuel. The whole thing is just crazy. Please, go ahead, please.
Mr. President, is climate cooperation with China no longer in America's interest? And could you please confirm that you are going to visit China the first week of April?
Yeah, I'll be
What would you
visiting
like to
President Xi in April. Look forward to it. He's coming here later in the year, and I look very much forward to it. No, our relationship with China is very good right now, and this is, not relevant too much having to do with China, what we're announcing today. But no, my relationship with President Xi is very good. Yes.
President, following your meeting with Prime Minister Netanyahu yesterday, has your thinking changed at all as it relates to these negotiations with Iran?
No, we have
or
to
the
make a deal.
timeline with Iran?
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month, something like that. Yeah, shouldn't take, it should happen quickly. They should agree very quickly. Yeah.
We might be heading into a partial government shutdown. When was the last time you spoke with Chuck Schumer, and do you still feel Democrats are negotiating in good faith?
Well, a week ago I spoke, but we have to protect our law enforcement. Actually, the Supreme Court gave a ruling, or one of the courts gave a very big ruling on masks, that you have the right to use them, for personal protection if you want. So I don't know how that interjects. They want our law enforcement to be totally vulnerable and put them in a lot of danger. They have some things that are really very, very hard to approve, frankly. As you know, it's only pretend. We had various of the other bills, that's all done, but we're left with this one. We have to protect our law enforcement, very important. Please.
Why does Prime Minister Netanyahu want you to stop negotiating with them?
He is, you're saying stop entertaining, stop talking to them? Didn't say that, we didn't discuss that. I'll talk to them as long as I like, and we'll see if we can get a deal with them. And if we can't, we'll have to go to phase two. Phase two will be very tough for them. I'm not looking for that.
Mr. President, there are currently 0 Israeli hostages left in Gaza because of you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And now that the war is ending in Gaza and Israel, I wanted to ask, do you believe Bibi bears any responsibility for the security failures that we saw on October 7th?
Well, October 7th was a rough time, and I guess everybody's responsible, which you had to look. But it was a terrible attack. It was a sneak attack. It was as violent as unfortunately, I've seen some of the results at levels that probably even you, good reporter, but probably you haven't seen. It was a horrible thing that took place. People was surprised. It was a surprise attack. Nobody saw that coming. He didn't see it coming. Nobody else would have seen it coming if they were in his position, I don't believe. But I can tell you he's been a very good wartime prime minister. He's been very strong. We've worked with him very well. We had tremendous success with Iran and everything else we've done. And he really has been. He's been, extraordinary as far as a wartime prime minister. Not easy. And, you have a president that refuses to give him a pardon. I think that man should be ashamed of himself. A pardon over this trial that's going on. The president of Israel, the primary power he's got is the power to give pardons. And he's not, he said he's given it 5 different times, but he doesn't want to do it because I guess he loses his power. I think the people of Israel should really shame him. He's disgraceful for not giving it. He should give it. But Bibi's been a great wartime prime minister, and I've been the best friend to Israel I think that they've ever had. A lot of people say beyond presidents that they've ever had, and we will continue to be. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, voter ID polls very well nationally. Even the majority of Democrat voters want it.
Right.
So why do you think Senate Democrats are resisting the SAVE Act? And what is your strategy and realistic pathway to getting the SAVE Act passed to ensure free and fair elections for the next generation?
It's such a great question. I appreciate it, actually, because it's called the Save America Act. We've changed the name. It's the Save America Act, and the Democrats are against it. I heard one of them saying, we will stop the Save America Act. No, we're trying to save America. And it has to do with largely voting. And basically, it's got three very simple points. It's got voter ID, photo ID, but voter ID with a photo, right? It's got the confirmation of U.S. citizenship. You have to be a citizen. So you have a vote, you have an ID. That's about a 99% one. And I think 90% with Democrats. Then you have confirmation U.S. citizenship. That's about a 99% one with Republicans, about 86% with Democrats, except Democrat politicians because they cheat on elections. And then you have no mail-in ballots. And there would be no mail-in ballots, very important. You know, we're the only country in the world that does a system like we do. We're the only country in the world that has mail-in ballots. The way we do this is unbelievable. It guarantees cheating. So it's no mail-in ballots with the exception of disability, illness, military, or if you're traveling, you can get an exemption. You know, if you happen to be out of the country for a good reason, you can have an exemption. So with exceptions, it's no mail-in ballots, and that will assure the security of our crooked elections. We have crooked elections, yeah.
Mr. President, have you fired or disciplined that staffer who posted the video from your account that included the Obamas?
No, I haven't. That was a video on, as you know, voter fraud, and fairly long video, and they had a little piece and had to do with the Lion King. It's been very well, it's been shown all over the place long before that was posted. But that was a very strong, and I'm sure you saw it, a very strong piece on voter fraud. And the piece that you're talking about was all over the place many times, I believe for years. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, were you aware that Secretary of Commerce visited Epstein's Island, and do you continue to have?
No, I wasn't aware of it. No, I didn't. I actually haven't spoken to him about it. I wasn't. But from what I hear, he was there with his wife and children. And I guess in some cases, some people were. I wasn't. I was never there. Somebody will someday say that. I was never there. Yeah, please.
This announcement that you made today, Mr. President, comes on the heels of a January jobs report that smashed industry
Yeah,
expectations.
smashed all records.
In the big feature of that was you reprivatizing the economy that was bloated with federal employment under the previous president. What's your message to Americans following this jobs report that smashed industry expectations? Is this just a sign that the best is yet to come?
Thank you. The jobs report's amazing in certain ways because we have tremendously fewer federal employees, way down. And now I could have left them and added to what we did, and we would have had almost 100% employment. I could have gotten a great kick out of the fact that we're 100% employed. But we got rid of tremendous numbers of federal workers, and they hated me for it. Now they love me because most of them have gotten jobs in the private sector for 2 and 3 times more money than they were being paid by the federal government. We had some jobs where you had 10 workers for one job, 10 workers for a job that one person should be doing. And we've gotten rid of a lot of those jobs. And by getting rid of them, these people became available to work in the private sector. And as you know, the numbers are incredible. So the job numbers are incredible. The financial numbers are beyond belief. Again, they thought it couldn't be done in 4 years, and I did it in 1 year. And the numbers you're going to see is these, I don't know if you notice also construction numbers, the jobs for construction workers. You know why? Because they're building plants all over the United States. That's why. And when these plants open in a year from now, some sooner, some a little bit later, but when these auto plants, AI plants, and thousands of other types of plants, when they open over the next period of a year, year and a half, you're going to see numbers like we've never seen before in this country. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Let's go.
President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Clean, beautiful call. Clean, beautiful call. We love clean, beautiful call, don't we, Doug? Huh? I'm thrilled to welcome to the White House the men and women who light our cities. And, you know, you do things that people don't even understand. There's so much. You do so much. You heat our homes, fuel our factories, and turn natural resources into American riches and dreams. Our amazing coal miners. Thank you very much, fellas. That's great. And I know you well. I know you well. I think I get about 97% of your vote. And you wouldn't want to do anything else. You wouldn't switch with a guy who had a beautiful penthouse apartment on Fifth Avenue. You wouldn't switch with that me. That was me. I had a nice, easy life. And now I decided to do this. But you know what? We just hit the highest price in the history of the stock market, 50,000. And a lot of people are getting rich with your 401ks and everything else. So our country is back. We have the hottest country anywhere in the world. So it's pretty cool, right? So I want to just tell you, I really appreciate you being here. You're special people. You got mistreated very badly for a long period of time. But you've never had a better friend in the Oval Office than me. And I'm proud to officially name the undisputed, when did this come out, Mr. Speaker? The undisputed champion of beautiful, clean coal. We have to proceed. Always, I don't use the word coal. It needs a PR job because it had a bad reputation for a while. So we're not allowed to say the word coal anymore. It has to be preceded by beautiful, clean coal. Okay? We're cleaning it up. Very good. And we're delighted to be joined by Secretary Doug Burgum, who's done a fantastic job from the great coal mining state of North Dakota. And thanks as well to Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, a fantastic guy who's doing a great job. Thank you, Mike. EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin. He's our secret weapon. He's getting those approvals done in record-setting time. True. Great senators, John Barrasso and Jim Justice. Thank you very much for being here. Hi, Jim. Been a long time, Jim. You're looking good. Shelley Moore Capito. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you very much, Shelley. Marcia Blackburn, Bill Haggerty, Ted Budd, John Husted, Bernie Marino, and David McCormick, all here, great senators, every one of them, great senators, representatives of the House, Jim Baird, Troy Balderson, Andy Barr, Dave Taylor, Warren Davidson, Troy Downing, Morgan Griffith, Brett Guthrie, Harriet Hageman, Mike Kelly, Dan Muser, Scott Perry, Carol Miller, Dana Harshberger, and Riley Moore. Boy, that's a good group of people. We have some others in here too, and I'm not going to say it's just too many. Don't get angry at me. I'll never get their vote again. It's very dangerous. I also want to thank the president of the Washington Coal Club, Michael Day, CEO of the National Mining Association, Richard Nolan, along with many of the greatest business leaders in this powerful industry and a great industry it is. But of course, the most important people here today are those who get their hands a little bit dirty to keep America running at full speed, our frontline coal workers. And I'm pleased to report that in the first year of my presidency, real wages for the typical miner increased by more than $2,200. I'd say that's pretty good, right? And I'll give you the bad news. It's the first time that that's happened in more than 27 years. All right? Those other presidents didn't take good care of you. They didn't take good care of you at all. They didn't realize what they had. The last time many of us were together, I signed a historic executive order to ensure that America's beautiful, clean coal plants would keep running when we need it most, and that's 24 hours a day in rain, sleet, and snow. You know, coal can operate when other substances can't. The Biden administration, he had no clue what he was doing. Shut down dozens of coal plants. They shut them down. Literally, it seemed like one a week, one a day. They were shutting them down left and right as fast as you could. They were paying people to shut down a coal plant. And if we had stayed on the ruinous path, we would have seen mass suffering and rolling blackouts all over the country. We would have had blackouts right now all over the country. We would have had a country that, worse than blackouts, every other thing would have been wrong with it too, with all of the horrible things that took place at our border. And right now our border is 100% secure. First time in the history of our country, actually. And you see it all the time. So instead, when large parts of our country were hit with winter storms, it was coal that kept the power on, and it was coal that never was bothered by cold weather, warm weather. It's never bothered by anything, just keeps on chugging, right? During this vicious storm, and they had some really bad ones, coal generation surged 31%, while solar and wind totally collapsed. I'm not a big fan of those crazy windmills that are all made in China. You know, they're made in China, but not used by China. Let's look for a couple of wind farms in China, see if you can find one. They sell us those things for fortunes, but we don't do them anymore. Have we done any this year, Doug? We're not going to do any, hopefully, for 4 years in this country. They're losers. They lose. You're supposed to make money with energy, not lose money with energy. And they lose a lot of money. And by the way, they're all over Europe. And, you know, I was recently there, and it's not recognizable what they've done to their beautiful fields and those beautiful, beautiful scenic areas. And they put those wind turbines all over the place, and they're chugging, not doing a damn thing, except every time it goes around, it loses a fortune. It's horrible. They've lost their way. Not recognizable. And then I wonder why they don't like me over there. But you know who likes me over there? The people like me over there, I can tell you, because they know I'm right. More than 200 million Americans across 35 states were impacted by the storm. And the only reason most were able to take a hot shower was thanks to the power provided by the most reliable, dependable, and really dependable form of energy that we have, and that's clean, beautiful coal. Biden and the radical left wanted to abolish coal. They did everything they could, everything possible. But on day one of this administration, I ended the war on coal. We terminated the Green New Scam, and we withdrew from the unfair, one-sided Paris Climate Accord. That was another beauty we had. We paid $1 trillion. Nobody else had to pay 10 cents. Already, I've saved 74 coal power plants from crushing restrictions and closures that would have been forced to shut down in the very immediate future. And today, I'm proud to announce that the Tennessee Valley Authority has taken action to save 2 major coal plants in Tennessee. Tennessee Valley Authority. The plants are the Cumberland Fossil Plant and the Cumberland City. It's in Cumberland City. It's a big, beautiful thing that they just wanted to shut down. You know, the Tennessee Valley Authority has gone in a very stupid, very bad direction. The head of it, it's considered sort of semi-private. It's supposed to be semi-public, but it's semi-private. It's the highest paid government type official in history. I think they pay them $10 million a year. They're paying them $10 million. I think the Speaker of the House wants to resign and head the Tennessee Valley Authority. And he could do a much better job, I can tell you that. Is that right, Doug? They pay him $10 million a year. Can you believe it? Well, Trump is on the scene now. We're going to make his life miserable. $10 million. I wonder what he got before he got that job. Probably making $150,000, right? And the Kingston fossil plant in Harriman, Tennessee. So they're going to remain open and they're going to be vibrant. They're going to be improved, built up, and continue to do all the things that they do. These two plants were slated for termination, but we're going to save over 450 jobs by keeping them going and going strong. In addition, I'm directing the Department of Energy to issue funds to coal plants in West Virginia, Ohio, North Carolina, and Kentucky to keep them online and keep those plants open. Right, Jim? And very importantly, we're also bringing our coal mines roaring back to life. Under 4 years of the Biden administration, Sleepy Joe, not a single permit was approved for a new coal mining project. Think of it. 4 years, not one permit. They were all being disapproved, actually. So not a single permit was approved. I didn't know that. But in 1 year of Trump, we've already approved over 70 permits for very big, very powerful mines that are going to be with us for many, many years to come. And we did that over the last 30 days. We did more than half of them because we have the system going now. It's a very reliable source, great source. If you look at some of the most prosperous places in the world, they run on coal. Since I took office, coal production is up by nearly 4 million tons a month after falling for decades. I mean, literally decades. Coal power generation is up by nearly 15% in my first year, and that number is going to be about 25 or 30% this coming year, at least. These pro-American energy policies are bringing energy prices way down. You see what's happening even with gasoline. I was in Iowa last week, and it was $1.85 a gallon. And many of them are $1.99 and $1.91. I saw we have them under $2 a gallon now. A little while ago, just a year and a half ago, they were at $3.50, $4, $4.50. In California, $7 because of the crazy taxes. Coal is one of the lowest price energy sources, and it's probably considered by almost everybody to be the most reliable. It requires no subsidies because you make money with coal. More coal means lower cost and more money in the pocket of the American citizens and in the pocket, frankly, of the United States of America. That's not bad. Every once in a while, we have to take care of our country, right? With us today is Kayla Blackford, who drives a haul truck at Bear Run Mine in Duggar, Indiana. Great state. We love Indiana. I only like states that are one so big, you know. I want to pick them. No, I like them all. Where she has worked for 5 years, and she's joined by her wonderful husband, Eric, who also works at the mine, and their really incredible son, Isaac. And Kayla, if you could come forward, I'd like to just have you say a few words, please. Come on up. Where's Kayla? Kayla, oh, hi, Kayla.
Thank you, Mr. President. As he said, my name is Kayla Blackford, and I am so proud and honored to be here today representing Peabody and coal miners across this country. My husband and I both work at Bear Run Mine in southern Indiana. I drive a haul truck, and I train others on this large piece of equipment. A haul truck is used to move rock or coal and is capable of carrying loads of nearly 250 tons. The tires are 12 feet tall. When I stand next to one, I barely reach the middle of the tire. It's the best job I've ever had, and not just because of the cool mom points I get for driving big equipment. My job supports my family, it supports our community, and it keeps the lights on and electricity affordable, not just in Indiana, but across the country. As demand increases and our lives become increasingly electrified, America needs to generate more electricity, not less. For years, coal miners have felt the weight of policies that made our future uncertain. Over the past year, that weight has begun to lift. My son, Isaac, who's here today, has friends whose parents also work at Bear Run. And when you grow up seeing huge mining equipment from the road, like Isaac and his friends do, you dream about the day when you get to run that equipment. When a mine closes, families don't just lose their jobs. They're often forced to leave their communities, their schools, and their support systems behind. The common sense policies to keep coal plants running implemented by this administration mean that my husband and I can keep working, stay where we are, and continue raising our son in our community that we call home. And the impact is even greater than that because you, Mr. President, have single-handedly kept utility prices affordable, the lights on, and our jobs alive. We are real people under these hard hats. On behalf of America's coal miners, thank you, Mr. President, for recognizing the value of coal and the value of the people who power this industry every day.
Thank you,
Thank you so much. So nice to meet you. Thank you very much for all of your things. Sorry, I'll take that.
Yeah. You did a good job, right? Look at the boy. He's so proud of Mom, huh? Did a good job? Couldn't do better, right? Anyway, thank you, Kelly. That's really nice. Thank you very much. Coal is also critical to our national security, vital to everything from steel production to shipbuilding and artificial intelligence. It's incredible what's happening with coal. And it's also incredible how clean they're able to keep it now with all of the new techniques. By using it, they're able to do things environmentally that are amazing. You see that. That's why I'm also pleased to announce that in just a moment, I will sign an executive order that directs the Department of War to work directly with coal plants on the new power purchasing agreements, ensuring that we have more reliable power and stronger and more resilient grid power. And we're going to be buying a lot of coal through the military now, and it's going to be less expensive and actually much more effective than what we have been using for many, many years. And again, with the environmental progress that's been made on coal, it's going to be just as clean. As some of you may know today, February 11th is Thomas Edison's birthday. There could be no better way to honor the legacy of the man who lit the world. Did you know that? The man who lit the world, Isaac. You know that? You ever hear of Thomas Edison? A little before your time, slightly. But then to reaffirm our commitment to American energy independence and the American energy dominance. We're going to be dominant. We are dominant right now. We have a new group of people that we're very close to, become very close to, and that's called Venezuela, where we're taking in this case, oil. We had 50 million barrels of oil that we have floating right now to Houston to be refined, and we're getting energy from all different sources. And so oil and gas is fantastic. So many of them are so good, but we're not going to use the bad ones. America is now the #1 energy producer in the world. We are by far #1. In fact, we're very soon going to be #1 by double what #2 is. And under our leadership, we're becoming a massive energy exporter. In just the past few months, we've made historic trade deals with Japan, Korea, India, and others to increase our coal exports dramatically. We're now exporting coal to all over the world, and the quality of our coal is supposed to be, I'm not an expert in coal, but I've been very good to the people that are. The quality of our coal is supposed to be the finest anywhere in the world. From West Virginia to Wyoming, from Ohio to Montana, and all across the country, we're lifting up our hardworking American miners like nobody has ever done before. We're bringing down costs of American consumers, and together we're making the most of the magnificent land that God gave us to rebuild the greatest economy and the greatest nation in the history of the world. Another one of my favorite words is the word tariff. Tariff is I know they want to hear that little story. I used to say it's my favorite word. They said, what about God? What about religion? What about family and your wife, your children? So now I make it my 5th favorite word. Oh, you have no idea. I suffered. I was suffering from the fake news media. They were going after me when I said it was my favorite word. So I make it #5, and I think I'm generally speaking okay. They'd like it to be a little bit later than that. But because of tariffs, you saw that it was just announced how a trade deficit has gone down. Now, if you go down 1 point, 2 points, you're like a genius. It's gone down 78%. 78%. Can you believe it? And we have to fight. Right, Speaker? And we have to fight. Just came out. Everyone's saying, that can't be right. 78% reduction in our trade deficit. And next year, we're going to be positive if we keep it all going. We're waiting for a very important decision from the Supreme Court. But I want to thank the speakers here because you have fought with me. You got it very early. Now almost everybody's getting it. But it's numbers that we've never seen. The other thing is breaking 7,000 on the S&P and very importantly, 50,000 yesterday. 50,000 we broke on the Dow. And if you remember when I won, they said if he could ever produce 50,000 by the end of his fourth term, by the end of his fourth year, it would be unbelievably successful. Well, we produced 50,000 in excess now, went up today, in excess of 50,000 at the end of my first year. So that's some difference. And that's because of tariffs. So we're doing numbers that nobody thought were possible. The economy is rich. I tell the story that in Saudi Arabia, the king said, sir, a year and a half ago, we were all saying you're a dead country, and now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. That's true. We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and a lot of reasons. So once again, I'd like to thank you for the tremendous honor of being here, and especially these gentlemen in the front row and a couple of you in the second row. What happened to the guys in the second row? They couldn't make it to the front. What's wrong with them? They don't shovel it as well, right? But I want to thank you and invite the chairman of our National Coal Council, Peabody Energy CEO, which is a great company, by the way, Jim Grech, to come up and say a few words, please, Jim. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, we stand here today representing the thousands of coal miners across the country to express our deep gratitude to you, sir, for the actions you've taken to support our industry. Your leadership and decisive actions have sent a powerful message. We have a president who, more than any other, deeply understands the importance of coal in supporting the future of this nation. Sir, you know what most people don't. The U.S. has more energy in its coal than any nation has in any single energy source. We have more energy than Russia has in its gas, and we have more energy than Saudi Arabia has in its oil. Yet before you, sir, presidents were afraid to allow coal to help keep electricity abundant and low cost. And Mr. President, that changed with you. We saw the impact of your wise policy in real time during the recent winter storm as temperatures plunged and demand surged. The coal plants you directed to keep open provided the stability and resilience that the grid needed. And today, thanks to your leadership, sir, we are working with your administration on the potential to build new coal-fueled power plants and having coal emerge as a source of rare earth elements and critical minerals that are essential for our national security and economic future. And because of you, sir, the mining towns that once feared for their futures are seeing new investment, renewed optimism, and a sense of pride restored. Families feel more secure, local businesses are growing again, communities that had been written off are reinvigorated. For the thousands of workers across this industry, your support has meant more than policy, sir. It has meant dignity, stability, and a recognition that their work matters in making America great again. So, sir, Mr. President, on behalf of Michael Day, the chairman of the Washington Coal Club and all the coal miners across our great country, I'd like to ask there's some executives and coal miners who are going to join us on stage, and we are going to present you an award, sir.
Oh, that's great. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, fellas, very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Sir, to show our appreciation, the trophy says the undisputed champion of beautiful clean coal. Thank you, sir.
It's great to bring it back. You were treated very badly, and now you're treated really well. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, very much. Appreciate it. Speaker, thank you. We don't use auto pens. There's no auto pen. Okay, come on up. That's great. Okay. Here you go, fellas. Take these. Take these. There you go. I'll get up. Okay, come on. You guys okay?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, friends. Good luck. Make a lot of money. All right. Have a good time.
Y'all, it just happened. The final death knell, the final blow to the Democratic Party just happened. The leftists have taken over. It is now going to be a downward spiral, and you are set to benefit. I'm going to walk you through the entire thing. Watch this entire video. I will try to keep it brief. You need to see what CNN just dropped on Harry Enton's show. Okay, let's get into this. I'm not going to bury the lead on you because I need just you to see all of this. Please send this out. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. If you agree with this video, if you agree with the mission of this channel of saving the country, if you like seeing what lefties are going to do before they do it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. This is too important to let it go by the wayside. All right, you can follow me on X at Braden LOA. Let's get right into this. I'm about to show you the thing that I've been ringing the bell for the Democrats on for a long time. They're not going to listen to me. I'm on the right. I'm on the conservative side. I'm on the, oh my God, the 2A advocate. I'm on the conservative America first, MAGA, all that. Oh my God, it's terrible. I know. I'm dumb. I'm an idiot. It just turns out that everything I've been saying with you guys in our conversations is now showing up on CNN's Harry Enton. The far left, the parasite, has taken over the host, and they're going to suffer because of it. All right. By the way, I benefit and you benefit when they suffer for this. So it's their own making. Let's get it. Watch this. I'm about to show you how CNN just announced to its entire viewer base that the 58% of the population thinks that the Democratic Party is too liberal, and they're only growing more so. Watch this. Please send this out.
That Democratic primary in the 11th district in New Jersey speak to a larger point within the Democratic Party, and that is that the far left is significantly more powerful than they once were. This sort of gives the game away here. Democrats who identify as very liberal or conservative. You know, there used to be a lot of conservative Democrats, right? Back in 1999, 26% of Democrats self-identified as conservative. Just 5% said that they were very liberal. It was a smidgen, a smidgen, a smidgen. Now that far left has gained considerably in power. Look at this. Now we're talking about a fifth of Democrats, 21% say they're very liberal. That conservative part of the Democratic Party, adios amigos, goodbye, just 8%. And when you combine the 21% who are very liberal with those who say that they're somewhat liberal, we're talking about 3 in 5 Democrats who identify as either somewhat liberal or very liberal, with the very liberals, a much larger portion of the party. The far left, which used to just be a smidgen within the Democratic Party, has gained considerable power, as you saw in New Jersey's 11th district.
All right. I'm going to say 2 things really quickly. And the first thing I'm going to say is this is exactly what we've been talking about. This is the past 30 years. They have gone far left. The far left has taken over the Democratic Party, and they're going to suffer electorally because the reapportionment right here is an early reflection of these last several decades. Everyone's leaving the left. Everyone is. All the states are getting power in the right, and they're losing in the left. This is going to be a death spiral. They are done. They may win individual elections going forward. They may win the House. They may win the occasional Senate seat. They are done. I am putting a stamp on it right now because they've now officially started a doom spiral that they won't be able to recover from unless they eject the socialist left-wing progressives out of the Democrat Party, which is not going to happen because they've taken over. All right. Now the next part. Gun advocates, 2A community, gun right organizations. I've told you guys in private and public conversations, and please send this out to them multiple times, that everything that they were doing in the gun world, in the gun control push, was going to translate directly into the overall politic general. What you're seeing right now is exactly what they did in the gun world when they consolidated all power around gun control pushes, and there is now no longer a single Democrat that does any type of gun rights, and they're all for gun control. This is literally mirroring exactly what they did over the last 15 years in the gun rights, gun control space, now politic general. They've mixed in a little bit of economic populism, a little bit of socialism, and all the control. And now they've got where we are right now. The warriors that are going to defend this are the ones who have been fighting this for the last 10 to 15 years. Get off the sidelines, get involved. Okay, here we go. That was my message to them. Let's keep on trucking with this segment because it only gets better. Watch this whole thing, please. I'm trying to do this quickly.
About Democratic socialists, like the likes of, you've got Bernie Sanders and or Zoran Mandani here in New York City. Where does that line up?
Okay, so on a separate question where you essentially, CNN asked this last year, which was, okay, Democrats who think of themselves as democratic socialists, among all Democrats, including those independents who lean towards the Democratic Party. Look at this. We're talking about a third of all Democrats who identify as democratic socialists. Bernie Sanders and Zohran Mamdani are not alone. They are a considerable part of the Democratic base at this point. And more than that, if you look at Democrats under the age of 35, they are nearly half of the Democratic Party. Look at this. 42% of Democrats think of themselves as democratic socialists under the age of 35, just like Zohran Mamdani. That, what happened in New York City, is not some aberration, right? It is not something that just happened in New York City. It is something that we are seeing grow within the Democratic Party at this particular point when we're talking about 42% of Democrats under the age of 35 identifying as democratic socialists and a third of all Democrats. My goodness gracious.
So if the...
Okay. And this next part's the most important part. If you're still here, I appreciate it. That like button, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on because the battle lines have officially been drawn. It is on. This next segment is going to be where you start winning. The death knell starts now. Okay. If you are looking at a position in the Democrat Party where almost 50% of your sub-35 demo is a socialist and 33% of all Democrats are socialist, how are you going to get people to stay in your different states when you're taking everything from them underneath socialist design? Because believe it or not, it's failed every single time it's been tried. In fact, it led to 100 million dead, and everyone knows it. That's why people are leaving, and they're getting -7 on the blue side of the aisle in 2030 and +7 on the red side of the aisle in 2030. And that's just in the Electoral College. That's not even, that's before you talk about House reapportionment seats. Y'all, you're about to begin a golden age of conservatism because the far left has gone crazy psycho left. Okay, let's keep on trucking. I'm going to be here the whole time walking with you. All right, watch. This is the payoff. Watch this. Please hear me. Check this out.
Ideology of the Democratic Party is shifting or changing. How are people feeling about it?
Okay, so we're talking about the Democratic base, right? But what about all Americans, right? How about all voters? Voters who say the Democrats are now too liberal. Look at this percentage. It was 42% in 96, 48% in 2013, now 58% in 2025 of all voters say that the Democratic Party is too liberal. The Democrats are moving to the left, the far left is gaining power, and there could be some electoral repercussions because what we see right now is voters, the clear majority, say that they are too liberal.
This is real.
58% of the population. Come here, please. This is going to be in our shorts. We're going to send this everywhere. This is going to be a big one, and I need you to amplify it. 58% of the American population, not Democrats, not Republicans, 58% of the American population thinks that the Democrat Party is too liberal. Meanwhile, 33% of them are socialist and 45% of them under the age of 35 are socialist. You cannot have a dramatic push to the left and progressive push and socialist push and then still maintain any type of semblance of moderation for the middle or the moderate Democrats. If you've lost 58% of the population thinking that your brand is too liberal, you are never going to have power until that is corrected. Because the American population is not socialist. The American population is actually right in the middle. They're not far to the right. They're not far to the left. The majority of the American population is right in the middle with little ticks right and left depending on issue. If you go far left progressive wacko socialist and your entire party is comprised of them because everyone else left, the purification into socialism and progressivism is your cancer. And it's only a matter of time until we relegate you to the dustbin of history. I'm telling you, this is what's happening. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you on the next one. I'm Braden. See you later.